the story of freedom. Part 1, The Eclipse. Buddha is walking through the farmland. He is seen by a farmer who yells to him and criticizes him for not working hard to cultivate the land and provide his own food. Buddha responds, "I am cultivating the mind." About 3,000 years ago, once there was a rich widow who had a good reputation as being kind, modest, and courteous. She had a housemaid who was wise and diligent. One day, the maid thought, my mistress has a very good reputation. I wonder whether she is good because she lives in good conditions, or she is good by nature. I will test her to find out. The following morning, the maid did not appear before her mistress until nearly noon. "Where have you been?" The mistress was annoyed and scolded her impatiently. The maid replied, "If I am late for only a day or two, you ought not become impatient with me." Hearing it, the mistress dismissed her. "I am not impatient. How dare you make such a claim when I am nothing but kind to everyone? Go on then. I don't need you today." Though she tried to cover it up, the mistress was steaming at such an accusation. The next day, the maid got up late again. As the mistress waited longer and longer and longer, she became very angry. As soon as she saw the maid, grabbed the nearest stick and hit her with it. After this incident, a few people in the village heard about it and started to dismiss the rich widow, not wanting anything to do with her. In truth, the rich widow herself was surprised at her actions and didn't understand how she had gone from being so good and kind to hitting her maid. "I didn't think I was capable of hurting another. I always thought that that is something I would never do." To protect her image and well-off standing in the village, the rich widow explained to everyone, "You don't know what trouble this maid caused me. She caused me so much distress that I had to lose control. But it can happen to anyone. I'm a good person, and I only mean well to her." In spite of her efforts to explain what happened and how the maid caused this incident, word of her abuse towards the maid spread quickly and became widely known. The rich widow lost her good reputation and was distraught in going so suddenly from admired and looked up to rejected and looked down upon. She felt tricked and wronged by the maid and by the people who just couldn't understand. She lived with blame in her heart.
Wait, is this where the story ends, Sadia? I wonder what the connection is between the words of Buddha from the beginning, I cultivate the mind.
Well, actually, I heard this story about Buddha and the farmer before, and it doesn't end there. Did you know that the farmer became a disciple of Buddha after that?
Really? What do you think he saw in Buddha?
Good question. But you know, in this story of the rich widow, I see that basically I am her. Eclipse.
The Story of Freedom, Part 2, Perception. About 2,000 years ago, Jesus was teaching in the temple. When some people of the law came with a woman and said, "This woman has been caught in the act of adultery." According to the law, such a woman must be stoned to death. Jesus bent down, and with his finger, he made some marks on the sand. But they insisted, "What do you say?" Then Jesus looked up and said, "The one who has no sins may cast the first stone." Then he bent down again and continued making marks on the sand. The fingers stopped pointing. The stones dropped to the ground. And Jesus and the woman were left alone. He asked her, "Woman, has anyone condemned you?" She said, "No one, sir." He said, "Neither will I condemn you. Go on your way and sin no more."
Now, hold on. What teaching was Jesus writing or drawing on the ground?
I don't think anybody knows.
You mean that wasn't recorded?
I guess. Seems like no one was paying attention, actually.
Hmm. I wonder what Jesus was teaching. The Story of Freedom, Part 3. In progress.